TheBonusStage.com.
The bonus stage, episode number 1.
Let's get started.
All right, everybody, welcome to what we're calling the bonus stage, episode number 1. And you have with you your two hosts for this evening, myself, Lloyd Hannison, and joining me, Jeff Ward. Jeff, how's it going?
It's going really well. It was a busy day today, but it's good to kind of just sit down, relax, do the show that I've been doing for a year and a half, and still get this week was tough because of something we're going to talk about right off the top here. Last week, if you guys were paying attention, Lloyd and I did technically what I guess could be bonus stage episode 1 in like version 2.0 on Kick FM.
That's right.
But over the week, Kick FM was dismantled, taken down. The whole thing was just shut right down, and it happened extremely quickly. It was announced, I believe, on Tuesday, and then Tuesday, and then Wednesday at 4, the station was dark, and it was like, wow, that was really quick, and it was like nobody could do shows that evening or finish out their shows that week. It was a pretty tough time, and the thing that really kind of sucks was that Lloyd was really excited to come and do the show on the radio, and I was pumped to be rebranding the show, doing something huge. And then, no, we get one episode in. I guess technically you were on too because you filled in for Tom at one point, but
That's right.
that was really tough. It still is. Like, both of us are just like, so we talk about it all the time via text. We're like so pissed off.
Yeah, it was just really stupid the way it happened. No warning, no nothing. And actually, they shut it down at 4:00 p.m. 4:00 in the afternoon, 4:00 p.m. Early evening on Wednesday. And they said, okay, we're done at 4 p.m. And everybody at the station, I guess, put together this really awesome montage, and they were playing it. And whoever was the douche that was shutting the station down just pulled the plug before everything was finished. It's like you couldn't even give everybody the satisfaction of finishing off the send-offs. It was just like, boom, it's done. And then it was just static. It was crazy. It was... I don't know. I was happy that I was able to do a couple episodes, and I'm really happy that we're doing this now because we have the ability to take this and take it even further than terrestrial radio. But there was just something cool about going into an actual old school, like 70s era equipment radio station, because like all the equipment they had is so old, but it was cool. And to not be able to do that now kind of sucks, but this is really fun too.
Yeah, it was. Like for me, I spent the last, year and 3/4, year and a half, I guess, nearly every Friday night. I maybe missed 3 Fridays, maybe one more than that, but every Friday night at that studio at Red River College, and New Year's, Christmas Eve, I did a show. We did shows all the time, long weekends. It didn't matter, and to not have that like final send off was really awful, and like especially for Rick, who not only Rick Baverstock is the station manager at Kick. My heart goes out to this guy because not only was he fighting tooth and nail for the entire decade-long span that Kick had, but he ended up losing his job as well too, because without Kick, there's no need for him there.
Yeah.
And he put a lot of heart into making that that last 30-minute goodbye clip of Kick. And then they cut it off halfway through, and I was sitting there listening to it, and then all of a sudden it goes. I'm like, is the internet broken? What happened? And then it was like, no, the radio was just, they pulled the plug halfway through. It's like, wow, that's some cold-hearted stuff right there.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, it was really sad. So yeah, so that's basically what the bonus stage is. It was a radio show here in Winnipeg. We're both, Jeff and myself are based in Winnipeg, Manitoba, and it was basically on the air for we'll say 2 years, give or take. And I was brought in as a co-host for about a month and a half ago, but you guys wanted to do a few more shows to end up. Tom wanted to finish off right at E3, and then you took a little bit of a break, and then we were gonna get in and like hit the ground running with both feet, like in sprint mode. And we did one episode that was really awesome, and then it was lost because they basically they pulled the plug on the station. So what we then decided to do was continue on. So every single Friday night at 10 p.m. Or 11 p.m. We're going to try to do the show around 10:30 or 11 o'clock. We're going to do the pre-show usually about a half hour before we get started with the actual episode, and we're going to do the bonus stage, but we're going to do it on the VG Podcast Network. So you can set your watch, set your calendar alarms, do whatever you want to do, and basically every single Friday at sometime between 10 and 11, you check vgpodcast.com/live. It'll give you the start time, and we will be there, and we're going to be doing the bonus stage each and every week. And we hope to have as many of you join us as possible. We have a lot of people in the chat room and a lot of people watching the video right now, which is really awesome. We have
that's great.
Let's give them a rundown. We have Antics, DJ Lee, Flea420, Greg Squires, Jason Nickel, Matt Purcell, Quacko, and Jeff A. Ward. Who was you, Jeff? Just left the room. We also had Flea420, who's IRC. He's there. Quacko. We have lots of people coming in and out of the chat room, and a lot of people watching the video as well. So this is really awesome. So my goal with this is let's have 20 people watching the live stream. Let's interact with you guys, and we have a lot of things that we're planning in the future. So let's run them down a little bit. Like the first obviously is the weekly shows. We're going to be putting this out as a podcast on vgpodcast.com each and every week. But Jeff, you're a video producer, you're a videographer. We have some pretty cool video stuff that we're planning for the future as well.
Yeah, so that's my bread and butter. That's what I do for a living, is do video. And like when Lloyd and I first started These Dudes on Gaming, I actually made a couple of, or I believe, no, it was just one, but it was essentially what I thought would be a cool way to showcase different pieces of gaming stuff, tech. And I did a video review of the Vita just as I had got it. And these are things that we want to continue. We're not quite sure the set schedule yet, but we want to do future video content and make different kind of serialized shows as well too. So the bonus stage will have these different, I guess, sub-video kind of categories that they're not going to be regular, but they'll just be when we have time. Lloyd and I had an idea where we just hop in a car on a Saturday and just go to a couple of flea markets and see what kind of like hidden gems that we can find, buried in amongst other crap that gets sold. We thought that would be a really cool idea. And we've also got some other stuff that's in the works as well too. We've got video reviews and gaming commentaries as well. I have a HD PVR, so I'm always capturing game footage, and the microphone that I'm using right now, so I can make, I do Call of Duty commentaries on YouTube every once in a while when I have time, so I love to do that kind of stuff as well. And then we also have a pretty aggressive plan to roll out a much broader network where we're doing written reviews and articles, and then possibly even getting submissions from you guys if you want to participate in the show more actively than just asking us questions. We might be doing a submission section. That's something that Lloyd and I will be talking about all the time, just figuring out how it's going to work. But what we really want to do is get more engagement with you guys and just see, we don't want you to just watch and ask us questions. We want you to actively participate in the show and help us build the show, because it's a community, right? So
yeah, we're based in Winnipeg, but this is going to be a network that's going to live online, so it's going to be worldwide. We'd love having user submissions for the website, maybe get some active bloggers talking. We want to do game nights in the future. We want to do gaming marathons for charity. There's a lot of ideas that we have, and but this is going to be kind of like the glue that's going to hold it all together. This Friday night 10 o'clock show that you can set your watch to. Come every Friday and spend an hour or 2 or 5 with us, depending on how crazy we are and how many games we have to talk about. Some other things that we're planning on doing during the bonus stage is I'm redoing my studio. So I'm in my studio, what I call a studio. It's an office, but I like to call it a studio. I like to call it a studio because it has lots of expensive equipment in it, which is probably more expensive than the stuff Kick was using in some instances, which is kind of scary. But I'm going to be, I picked up a new machine and I'm actually using it right now. So this machine where my hands are flopping, this new Mac is going to be kind of like the center of what I'm going to be doing here. We're going to be doing I'm going to be getting a piece of hardware so we can do live video from PS3 and 360, iOS. We're going to be talking about pretty much anything and everything, anything game related. I'd even like to find a way that we can start bringing in some retro games, maybe play some I don't know, River Raid on the Atari 2600 and do it on the air every Friday night, like stuff like that. Is kind of what we're thinking about. So we got a lot of things that are in the planning stage rather, but the bonus stage is always going to be a Friday night thing. So I encourage you to come join us at around 10 o'clock Central every single Friday. We'll have to actually like solidify an actual time when we're going to start recording. We'll see how it goes.
If you pay attention to our Twitter and Facebook feeds, you'll see the updates. We'll let you guys know when we're going live and stuff like that. And also, just before we go into the next section, I also want to just quickly add that we're planning to do some more talk show based stuff as well, where we're not just talking about video games and reviewing them, but we're going to have interviews with video game creators and theorists and designers. I have some. Lloyd as well too we have some hookups in the indie game community. We want to get some people like that on the show. And one of the really exciting things about the bonus stage on Kick over the summer was we were going to have James and Lizanne, the makers of Indie Game the Movie, on the show. But we're not quite sure how we're going to work it out now because we're doing the podcast, but that is still in the works. We are going to work very hard to make sure that we can get them on the show because I think that would be a fantastic episode. And I really, really want to do that because I think it's going to be a blast. And also in the chat room, if you're in there right now, I did post a link to where the bonus stage started. It's youtube.com/thebonussstage09. That's where Tom and I started doing video game reviews in like 2008 on a really crappy camera. That's where the idea started. And it's been this really strange metamorphosis to where we are now. But I think we're in a really good place. And Matt Purcell in the chat room said that he heard the Vita isn't worth the money spent, though it looks really promising. You're right. It's not worth the money. I did buy one, and I still kind of regret it.
And you actually told me to not buy it. I was going to.
I tell everyone not to buy it.
I'm going to go buy it right now, and you're like, no, don't. And I'm like, no, I have the money. I'm going to go buy it. You're like, no, just put it in your pocket. Don't do it. There's like a couple of good games, but I'm lucky that I really like baseball because if it wasn't for MLB The Show, which I now own on the PS3 as well too, and we'll review it later on in the show, I would not be getting any value out of that Vita. Yeah, exactly. All right, well, so that's your 1,000-foot view of what the bonus stage was and what it's going to be. So hopefully you guys are gonna be willing to jump on this ride with us. I know we have about 10 people in watching the live video right now. We got about 20 people in the chat room, something like that. This is awesome, and this is a great start for what we want to do here at the network. So just a brief overview of the VG Podcast Network. If this is your first foray into what we do here at VGPodcast.com, I host a number of shows here. I host the Touch of Gaming show, which is iOS. Quacko in the chat room. Jared is my co-host for that show, and we talk about iPhone and iPad gaming. I do the Nintendo Pulse with Edgar, who unfortunately I think he wants to leave the show in the near future. So I might be looking for a new host for that, which is a little bit sad because we've been doing that show. We've been doing a Nintendo themed show for about 7 years. So that's going to be kind of scary if that actually happens. So we'll see what happens there. And then we do what used to be These Dudes on Games, which is now the bonus stage. So we're looking to add a whole bunch of things here on the network. So things at VGPodcast.com are going to keep growing as well. So if you're interested in joining us, there's forums, there's a newsletter, there's of course the chat room, which we idle in. A lot of the hosts here idle in all day during the week, so you can always come and chat with us. But we're looking to add a lot more things to the network as well. So anyway, that's kind of what VG Podcast is.
Yeah,
and the bonus stage.
Yeah, exactly. And another thing is, wait a minute. I think I just forgot what I was going to say. Oh, that's okay. Always awful when it happens.
I do it all the time.
Man, I've just completely blanked on what I was going to say. One of the things that really kind of makes this show get better in the future is your feedback. So if you have questions, comments, or concerns, we want to know how you feel, because that's how we're going to essentially start building the future of the show, is relying on you guys to tell us how we're doing. If the show sucks, let us know, because we don't want to do a show that sucks. And from our perspective, sometimes it's hard to see that because a lot of work goes into what we're doing right now.
Exactly.
It's really easy for us to go, man, we put a lot of work into this. This has got to be good, but it might not be. So let us know. If it sucks, let us know, and we'll make a really good effort to change it and make sure that everybody's enjoying it.
Exactly. Yeah, so you can do that. You can head on over to vgpodcast.com, click contact us. You can go to the forums, harass us that way, or you can actually just email us directly, which is vgpodcasts@gmail.com. We even have a voicemail line, so if you call area code 505 VG Podcasts, you can leave us a voicemail, and hopefully we can start incorporating some of that stuff into future episodes of the show as well.
Yeah, and if you like that little intro at the beginning that Lloyd played, that was written by Starship Amazing, and we're going to be playing a lot of their music on the show as well. They've been a big staple of the bonus stage, and
they're awesome.
They're awesome. That's one of the things. Actually, we used one of their songs for the intro to These Dudes on Gaming as well too. So
that's right.
Head over their site, starshipamazing.com. You can download a lot of their music for free. It's well worth it if you like this kind of chiptune-y, a little electronic inspired kind of stuff, and we'll be playing a lot of it on the show.
Exactly. Love it. All right, so let's get into what is going to be the normal kind of format and flow for the show.
Yeah, what say we do the show, hey?
That sounds like a good idea. So let's get into what we've been playing for the past little while. This is the kind of the section where we talk about games which aren't full reviews, but we chat about games that we've been spending some time with. So Jeff, go ahead.
Yeah, also really quickly before we dive into this, if you did listen to the show on Kick last week, we are going to go over a few of those things again, just because we want to make sure that the people who we really want to hear this stuff hear it. So if you hear some repeats, don't worry, they're supposed to be there.
Exactly.
So first thing I've been playing, and I know you've been playing it as well, Magic the Gathering Duels of the Planeswalkers 2013. I've been playing it on the 360, the Xbox Live Arcade.
Yeah. I've been playing it on the iPad, and it's amazing on the iPad.
Yeah, I you can't tell right now, but I am literally surrounded by Magic cards. I have like probably 5 decks worth of cards here. I'm like surrounded by about 1,000 cards, and it's due to this game. I mean, I played in high school, so did you. But I kind of fell off after I went to university and college, and I was like, I just don't play anymore. I was doing other things. And then I picked this game up because it was $10, and I'm like, you know what? Why not? I really enjoyed the game. Let's see what it's like. I played the demo and really enjoyed it, and then bought the game, and I'm super impressed, and it got me so much back into Magic that I went out and bought. I probably spent around $50, $60 on cards, and I'm now getting back into playing it. And I am just addicted. It's so much fun. It's really, really great on the iPad, which is where you've been playing it.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's as close as you can get to actually playing with the cards without actually playing the cards. You're interacting with the cards on the screen. You're pushing them to play them. You're tapping them to actually tap them. It's so good. But maybe we'll save the actual review of this app for maybe next week's episode.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just one of the things that's been taking up a lot of my time. And the other thing, which I finished this week and will review next week, because I want to give you a chance to play it, is Walking Dead Episode 2.
Oh, yes.
Came out. Now, there's been a bunch of trouble that Telltale has had with actually putting this piece of DLC out, because it was supposed to come out actually almost a month ago, and it only dropped this week. But it's well worth the price of admission. It's probably one of the best, if not the best game Telltale's ever worked on. And the series just gets, I mean, It starts off so dark and it just does not let up. It's amazing.
Yeah.
I can't wait to review it next week because
I,
it's a fantastic piece.
yeah, I can't wait to play this one. I really enjoyed chapter 1, and yeah, chapter 2. I cannot wait for it.
Is it on the PS3 as well?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, and Steam, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And I heard rumors that it's coming to iOS in the future. They're one of the things that they're planning on doing is coming out with retail release. So they're going to release all of the chapters together at once. So
Oh, that's cool.
that would be cool if it came to iOS and other platforms as well.
Well, I mean, it really doesn't need a controller. I mean, they're very simple controls. I think it could work on iOS just fine.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. So that's about it for you.
Yep.
I've been playing mainly the game that's been taking up all my time is Diablo 3. I picked it up on launch day and loved it, played it, and then said, I want the collector's edition. You can actually see the collector's edition box just above my shoulder right here if you're watching the video.
What a show off. What a show off.
I put it there because it's like, I love this game. This is going on my trophy wall.
Yeah. And one of the things Blizzard does really well is a great collector's edition that's worth your money.
Oh, yeah, totally. Yeah.
They do a fantastic job of that.
Like you have this little thing here, which is a Diablo skull with the black soulstone is in his brain, and when you pull it out, it's actually a USB key that has versions of Diablo 2 on it, which is
That's
just
so cool.
which is pretty cool. So yeah, Blizzard does the collector's editions right.
Yeah.
I've been playing. I have a level 60 character. I'm almost all the way through Inferno with my character, which is kind of like you haven't beaten Inferno yet. Yeah, I've been kind of slow and leveling up other characters, and I'm to the point now where I'm playing a monk. So I basically grind for 4 hours to get enough gold to buy the next piece of equipment that I need to then get a little bit further in the game. So I'm not entirely happy with the game right now. I think I'm going to wait for the next patch, 1.4, I believe, 1.04, which is going to have some balance and stuff thrown into it, maybe make things work a little bit better. Because I'm kind of done with it. I basically had a little bit of a realization like 2 days ago. I was like, I played this game for 4 hours and I've got no equipment that I can sell in the auction house, and I made very little gold. So I'm gonna have to do another like chunk of hours worth of delving into it. So anyway, Diablo 3 is awesome, but I think I've probably played it for 100 hours already. Like I should really look at how much time I've spent with this game. It's crazy.
I think, what would really make fans happy if in the next patch they're like, oh, and by the way, you can play it offline.
That'll never happen.
Yeah, I know it won't ever happen, but
ever
man,
happen.
would that be a great, just like,
Yeah.
because a lot of people I know who play the game don't care about online. They don't want to play online. They just want to play solo. My girlfriend's one. Tom, the other host of the Bone Stage, was one. He hates the fact that it's got to be online. Yeah. And it's such a resource hog of the network too.
Yeah, and the worst part is if you want to play during the day, that's when their patch time is. So like Tuesdays, I believe, is their normal patch day. So the game is unplayable for like 4, 5, 6 hours, which is asinine for a game that you spent $60 on. So yeah, I don't know. I think I'm a little bit over Diablo 3. We'll see what happens, but it's been basically taking the lion's share of all my gaming time. Also,
and your family time too.
No, because I do it after the kids go to bed, thankfully.
Oh, okay.
So the kids go to bed, and then I spend hours playing Diablo. And I
completely forget about your wife.
I guess that takes away from wife time, but family time is okay because the kids are happy, and that's what really matters. Also been playing, as I said, as you said, Magic the Gathering, Duels of the Planeswalker 2013. I'm a big iOS gamer since I do the Touch of Gaming podcasts. I've been playing a lot of Pocket Planes, which is the new Nimblebit game. They did Tiny Tower, and it's like a really addictive freemium title where you basically have to build up an airline, and you create airports in different cities, you build planes, you fly the planes with people or items to the different cities, you collect fares, use that money to buy more cities, rinse, repeat, you keep going. Great game. Quacko in the chat room right now is super addicted to it as well. Actually, Montana in the chat room says I'm a necromancer because I don't sleep. So maybe that is true. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes.
I'm super addicted to Pocket Planes as well. And you know what? The really funny thing is, I hate Tiny Tower. I think it's a dumb game, and this is the same thing.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
It's just a different skin, and it's got a different mechanic. But I don't know what it is about it, but when it's like when my phone buzzes and it's a text message, I'm like, oh, whatever. But if it buzzes and it's like, oh, your plane landed, I'm like, oh, sweet.
I gotta go do that.
Let's address this problem right now. Let's get that baby back in the air.
Exactly.
But it's like, text message says like, oh man, the house is on fire. I'm like, nah, whatever. Wait a minute, a plane landed in Minneapolis. I gotta get it.
Oh, the plane's on fire. Oh, I gotta
Yeah,
deal with this one right now. Yeah,
it's
no,
totally different.
it is really really addictive. So you'll probably hear us talk a little bit more about this as the weeks and months go on, because it's one of those games that you can probably play for the rest of your life, and there'll
Yeah.
still be things to do.
No word of a lie, the game actually woke me up in the middle of the night once to tell me that that a plane had landed, and I went and made sure that it got boarded with items and sent it off again.
I did that as well. I sleep, my alarm clock is my iPhone,
Mine
and
too.
so it's like right by my head. And I can remember like one of the first nights when I was so addicted to this, it would, my phone would buzz. I'd open one eye and I'd kind of go over and I'd slide and punch in my code and then figure out what plane it was and load it up and then move it and then close my eyes and go back to sleep for the next like 15 minutes, and then it would ding again until my brain basically wouldn't let my body wake up again until the morning.
Yeah.
So I've been there, done that, and it's really quite sad.
Yeah. But that's the reason we're qualified to do this show.
Yes, we're
That right
insane.
there.
We're insane. That's all the qualifications you need is
It's
insanity.
dedication.
I've also been playing a great, or sorry, not a great, an okay first-person shooter on the iPad called Dead Trigger. It's $1, and basically it's a first-person shooter zombie killer. You basically play a guy who's a lone survivor in the city, but then you find out that you really aren't a lone survivor. There's other survivors, and you basically work with them and you do supply runs for them and things like that. The game is basically it's divided into levels, so you're basically doing something in a level like shooting 40 zombies, or finding 4 boxes and bringing them back to the safe house, or protecting this door for 3 minutes, and then at the end of that mission you get gold and experience. When you level up, you can buy better weapons. When you get the gold, you can use them to buy other weapons. It's a decent game. It's probably one of the most beautiful looking games on the iPad I've seen. I have an iPad 3, and it looks really gorgeous. It looks as good as some console shooters I've played. Of course, the environments are really small, so that doesn't surprise me. The problem about this game is it's a game that they charge you $1 for. But then they want you to spend money on their in-game currency to buy the real good weapons. So
Is there a way to get in-game currency without buying it?
yeah, if you level up every once in a while, you'll get a few pieces of gold, but not as many as you'll need to actually buy a weapon. It's almost
That
impossible. You start the game with this really great machine gun, and then you lose it, and then you need to spend in-game currency to buy it back, which is stupid. So you can either level up the crappy weapons and spend like maybe play the same level 40 times in a row to get enough gold to then like buy a better weapon and upgrade it, or you can spend $3 real cash and then buy the weapon you want and upgrade it fully, and then it's like a one shot kill, make heads explode kind of weapon compared to the other one. So I reviewed it on the Touch of Gaming episode 109, so if you want to hear a better review of it, definitely go check that one out on the VG Podcast Network. It's pretty much going to be deleted from my iPad. I'm kind of done with it. So
You know what? My view is always like, if you're gonna have an in-game currency that's almost necessary to be better at the game, the thing that I always want to see is that the game be free. I mean, 99 cents is almost free, but if you're also going to charge me for in-game currency, then put the game at free, and
Yeah.
then I won't feel as bad about having to spend, if I really, really want to, spend that extra money to buy the currency.
Totally.
Granted, I've never bought in-game currency before.
really?
I think it's ridiculous, but
I have no problem with that. Like tiny plane or pocket planes. I spent $5 on in-game currency just to reward the developers, because I spent a lot of time with this game. It's like it's easy to get in-game currency, but I want to reward the developers, and that's usually what I do with a lot of games. If I like the developer, I'll spend $1 or $2 of in-game stuff just to make it worth their while to keep producing titles. But a game like Dead Trigger, like it's $1, and then I need to spend money to play the game. It's not like oh yeah, I can also reward them for a game that I've been playing a lot, or it's not free and then I don't mind dropping $3 to $5 on a game that I really enjoy. I don't know. It's just that's where there's some sort of like block in my brain that it doesn't allow me to do that for whatever reason.
It's just different sentiment, right? I mean, it's really. I know the developers aren't just actively saying, "Oh, we're going to screw these guys and get their money," or some of them might, but I think the majority of them, I try to look, blue sky scenario where they're not really trying to screw us, but it makes it feel like not only did I pay 99 cents for the game, but to really get any kind of value out of it, I've got to spend more money.
Right.
That's That's not good. I mean, that's just not good practice. It might be good business practice, but if you really want to, if you're making iPhone games, I don't think you should set out trying to make $1 million business. I don't think that's the right way to go about it.
Yeah.
Set out to make a good game. Make a Tiny Wings for 99 cents, you can make $1 million. Make a Angry Birds for 99 cents, you can make $1 million easily. But
Exactly.
if you make a game like that where it's 99 cents and then you're going to probably spend around $5 to $10 to make sure that you're really getting value out of the game, that's out of control. I mean, that's just ridiculous.
Yeah, we got some great comments in the chat room. We have Flea420 that says, if the game's actually good, you don't want those dudes going out of business and having to go back to the regular jobs because it failed, which is why I don't mind throwing a few bucks at the developer. But if the game isn't free, I don't want to do that, especially if I have to buy currency to progress. It really pisses me off. And then Matt Purcell says, nothing beats Zynga for needing to pay for all their useless crap, which is indeed true. They're the opposite of what freemium should be. They're freemium plus, I guess. It's just they're at the other end of the spectrum from how I like to play my games, like Pocket Planes or Tiny Tower or whatever like that.
I totally agree. DJ Lee just said that Tiny Wings 2 is coming. I had no idea. That's awesome.
Oh, you should see. They put out a teaser trailer, and it's they drew out one of the Tiny Wings levels in paper, and they made this little music box thing where they put the paper into it, and then the guy goes there and he starts like turning this little crank, and it plays music, and then he has this little Tiny Wings bird on a stick that he makes go up and down, and then right near the end it lands in a nest or whatever. It's like one of the best teaser trailers I've seen for an iOS game, and it makes me really want to get it. And I think it comes out next week or something, or 2 weeks from now.
Wow, I'll absolutely buy it.
Yeah, it's awesome. Very,
like
very
a
good.
no-brainer.
Cool. So, any other games you want to talk about, Jeff, or should we get into some music?
That's all that I need to talk about. Let's get into the break and then come back do some reviews.
Okay, so we're gonna play track and then we'll get back with some reviews. See you guys on the flip side. All right, guys, welcome back. That was a really awesome track called called Just Trash by Knife City.
Yeah.
We're going to be trying to play a lot of chip tunes and other music like that. So if you have some suggestions, definitely send them in. We would like to play couple songs, probably about 3 in each episode. So we're going to need lots of suggestions from you guys so we don't get boring and play the same track over and over.
Yeah, and you can actually pick up that whole EP. It's 5-track EP from Knife City for free. I believe it's on their Bandcamp. If you just search Knife City, you'll get it's a really, really good album, and it's got some other good tracks in there too. Sorry, jeez, I've lost my tongue and my ability to talk. That one is one of my favorite tracks. It's a really, really good listen. That whole album is awesome.
Yeah, it's great, and we're going to try to put links to all this stuff when it's available for download. A lot of the stuff is been sent to us. Some of the stuff is available on different compilations. We'll put links to all the stuff that we can, and definitely happy to take suggestions or music from the listeners here, so we can play it in future episodes. All right, let's continue on. We'll get into reviews, and since this is kind of a what we did last week kind of thing, I'm not doing any reviews in this episode. So Jeff, I hope I hope you can talk, because you have a lot of talking to do.
Yes, I do. I'm just kidding. Yeah, so
I thought your Skype froze. Actually, I was like, "Oh no, that was the worst thing ever."
That would have been a horrible time, which has happened before.
It has.
So hopefully it doesn't happen tonight. Keep your fingers crossed, guys. But yeah, first item up is Dawnguard DLC for Skyrim. Now, it's only out for the Xbox 360 because Microsoft loves its fans and hates everyone else. They paid, I'm not quite sure how much, but I'm going to assume it was quite a lot to make it worth Bethesda's while, I guess you should say. And they have got the exclusive rights to it for, I'm going to guess, the first 30 days, which is about as long as their normal engagements. So if you're on the PC or PS3, you have, I want to say, about 2 weeks, maybe a little bit longer before you see the download. It's a $20 piece of DLC, 1,600 points on the Xbox Live platform. It's completely worth the money, and here's why. Really, really short and sweet version of it is, it gets you back into Skyrim if you've played the hell out of it and don't know what to do. This gives you a ton of other things to do. You'll beat the whole thing in around 15 hours if you're really, really fast and don't do a lot of the other stuff. But if you get involved in the other side quests and doing all the other cool stuff that gets involved and really searching out every area, it's a 20 plus hour piece of DLC. It involves the vampire plot to blot out the sun, or at least that's how they're advertising it. It introduces a couple of really awesome characters and a couple of really interesting new locations, the Dawnguard Castle and this vampire castle. And only until just recently did I realize that they were on polar opposite sides of the map. I'm not sure if that's intentional, but it's kind of strange that they're literally corner to corner opposite from each other. I don't want to spoil anything because right in the beginning there's quite a bit of stuff that goes on that's pretty integral to the plot, and if you haven't played it, I don't want to spoil it for you. But I will say this one thing. There's a new female character that gets introduced, and she looks exactly like Kate Beckinsale from the Underworld franchise.
Nice.
Just exactly. I mean, I paused the game, and my girlfriend has seen those movies, and I'm like, is that Kate Beckinsale? And she's like, I'm pretty sure that's Kate Beckinsale. It's nearly uncanny. It's really, really strange.
More games need to have that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
It's really strange, but that's maybe just who they wanted to choose for likeness. Tons of really cool new enemies and attacks and stuff, and it's totally worth the money. I think it's one of... Bethesda always does DLC really, really right. I mean, if you've ever played any piece of DLC for the Fallout franchises or Oblivion, what was the other one? Shivering Isles, I believe, was it? Was a piece of DLC for Oblivion, and then there was Knights of something, I think.
Yeah, Knights of the Nine, and there was all the Mage Tower and the Pirates Cave and a whole bunch of other things like that as well.
Yeah, and all those were really fantastic pieces that opened up that world even more. I mean, you think of Skyrim as a huge, huge world, and they're like, no, you know what? That's not it. We've got more. And this is only the first of what I'm going to assume is many other pieces of DLC.
Sure.
And I can't wait for them. I think $20 is a lot to ask for DLC, but Bethesda as people are saying in the chat room, is the shizzle. They do DLC right. I mean, they just know what to put in.
They give you value.
Yeah, absolutely, which is something that is kind of hard to gauge when it comes to DLC, right? I mean, the kind of the biggest plague in video games is that they all have to end. But, DLC is something that extends a story that is ended and gets you back into that universe and you realize, wow, I mean, I have spent a ton of my life in here. I mean, I'm only around 65 hours that I've put into Skyrim as a whole,
Oh wow,
which is very like
you're a Skyrim baby.
exactly. I'm in the infancy of my Skyrim, franchise, but my girlfriend has put in 10 days.
Yes.
I mean, just a ton of time, and she hasn't even beaten the main quest line. So there's just a ton of stuff to do, and this adds to it. I think it's a really, really well done piece, and I can't say enough about Bethesda. I think their track record speaks for itself, and it's just one of those great pieces that'll go on their mantelpiece as well. They're like, oh yeah, by the way, our track record speaks for itself, but we've also got all these awesome trophies of us doing cool stuff nearly every month of every year for the last decade. They're producers and they know what they're doing, and their art team is fantastic. It's a really, really well done piece of DLC. Highly, highly recommend it. If you can, buy it now, or pre-order it, or whatever you have to do to get your hands on it, because it is good.
Exactly.
Next up, so if you've listened to these dudes on gaming before, was it these dudes on gaming or these dudes on games?
That there's probably a reason why the show doesn't exist anymore. When one of the co-hosts can't get the name right ever,
I could never get the name right.
These dudes on games.
Yeah, there we go. And I was one of the ones who was like, yeah, that's a great name. Let's go with that.
It was a horrible name, but we went with it for some reason. I don't know why.
And you know what? Your wife told us on numerous occasions that was a bad name for a show.
I just like T-Dog.
T-Dog, yeah, that
made me laugh.
Why don't we just call it that all the time? But so if you've listened to those shows or even the bonus stage, you've heard me talk ad nauseum about MLB The Show 12 for the PS Vita. Basically, one of the only reasons why I still own that handheld. It's a really, really great game. And I was like, you know what? The show on the PS3 is on sale right now. I can get a new copy for $30. Why the hell not? So I did. And it's even more awesome because, and on the back of their box for the game, they're a little bit, I don't know how to say it. They're a little bit, puffed up chest. They're like, we know our game is good. And on the back of the box, it says, it's so real, it's unreal. And that's the only thing that it says on the back of that box. It's a little bit like, wow, we're the biggest thing in the world. But it's a very accurate description of how that game plays. It feels like you're watching a MLB game on TV. And I'm a big baseball fan. I've got my Blue Jays hat on right now. I've got my Blue Jays glass that I'm drinking out of. And
show off. Now I get to talk to you about being a show off.
Well, I mean, I gotta change hands at some time, right? I mean, you got all that cool stuff behind you. I've got these gray blinds.
But they're really nice blinds.
Yeah, if you want to see the pony corral behind me, I can show you that.
Nice.
There's really not much behind me I can show you, so I got to do something here, right? I'm a huge baseball fan. I'm always watching the game. Before the show, I was watching the Jays game tonight. So this is about as realistic as watching a baseball game in HD on your TV. It is a fantastic game. I won't get into the gameplay because if you played a baseball game, you know what it's like. They're all the same. It's very simulation, but you can kind of dial down the difficulty to make it a little bit easier, a little bit more arcadey and simple. Tons of different options. Road to the Show is really fun. Dynasty Diamond is really fun. The online is pretty slow, but they've improved it a lot from the year before, so it's one of those things that's always improving. But you get your butt handed to you all the time because those guys on there are just playing every day. Franchise mode is fantastic. I love being able to kind of like tweak all the nuances of essentially one of my biggest dreams is I want to own the Toronto Blue Jays. That's one of my biggest life goals. And in this game, I kind of get to live that, with like ticket prices and concession stand sales and replacing the turf on the field and all that kind of stuff and choosing how the players get from one location to another. Do I want them to bus or do I want to pay the extra charge to fly them? But, then their stamina doesn't get as depleted because they're not on a bus all the time. A lot of really intricate stuff that you get to choose from. But the coolest thing, if you're an outsider looking in, is the thing that they've been marketing the most. The fact that I can take my game on the PS3, pause it, and then push it to my Vita. Now, here's what really happens
It's
because
super
it
fast,
doesn't.
isn't it? They tell you it's like 30 seconds. It's
Yeah.
great.
You see on the commercial where they're like, they just pause it and then all of a sudden, boom, it's on their PS Vita. Pay really close attention to the fine print at the bottom of that screen because here's how it really happens. So you find that, okay, I've got to catch the bus in 10 minutes or whatever, so I got to get going. So I want to take the game with me. Pause it on the PS3, go down to the save option, save it, wait, probably around 10 or 15 seconds because it's a big game file and you have to wait for it to save. And then from there, you're still in the game. So you have to exit that game and go to the main screen. So you do that, and even if you install the 6.5 gigabyte game file
Wow.
on top of the other game file that's necessary on the PS3 that apparently makes the game load times faster, I couldn't even imagine what they are like if I didn't actually install that 6.5 gigabytes. But if you download them and you're ready to go, so you take another 10 or 15 seconds to get to the home screen, and then from there you navigate over and you choose the option that says upload to cloud. So you press on that, and then the online system kicks in, which, as we all know, on PlayStation is quite slow. And then from there, it asks you to authenticate, and if you haven't, then you have to go get that 15-digit code from your game manual and authenticate your game. And then it says okay, and then it asks you if you want to upload, and of course that's what you're there to do, and that's the only thing you can do there. So I'm not quite sure why they ask you again. It makes no sense. And then it says okay, and then it goes and starts uploading, and that takes a while. That takes around a half minute. That might not seem like a long time, but if you're in a rush, that is a nightmare. So then from there, your game is now uploaded to the cloud. So you're like, great, I can shut this PS3 off now and get going. But you can't really go anywhere because unless you have a Vita with 3G, you have to be in your wireless network to download that game from the cloud. So then you got to boot up your Vita. And if it's turned off, it takes a few seconds, about half a minute for it to come on, and you have to then go into your game. And MLB The Show takes a long time to do anything on the Vita because it's such a big game. So you start the game, you launch the game, it takes about a minute and a half for you to get into your game. Then you go into your franchise mode. Then you say load from cloud, and it asks you to authenticate. And if you haven't, then you have to go and enter that code again.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's a nightmare. And then it asks you, do you want to download from the cloud? It's like, of course I do. What the hell am I doing here if I don't want to download from the cloud? And then it starts downloading, and then around a half minute later, it's downloaded and you're ready to go. So that whole process that in the commercial takes less than half a second has taken around 20-25 minutes by the time everything is said and done.
So you can watch like a normal sitcom comedy episode on television while this whole process just goes in the background.
It is crazy.
That's insane.
And like, provided your network is fast, that won't be any slower than that. That's probably around as fast as you can do it.
Wow.
It's just, and the thing is, like, you exactly, yeah. Quacko just said in the chat room, and you missed your bus. That's exactly what's going to happen. You're going to miss your bus. You have to plan so far ahead to make sure that you can actually catch your bus, but still take your Vita game with you. I mean, why not just play it on the Vita all the time? Because then you're never going to make a mistake and you're like, oh, I'm not going to be able to play this now when I go on the bus. I love the game. I think it's really, really good. And I think the addition that I can go and... Because once the game is actually loaded on the Vita or vice versa, everything is there and you're ready to go and it's fantastic. They haven't missed a beat. But getting to that point is an extremely boring and slow process.
Yeah. No, I remember... when we did this on Kick FM, I remember this is when I jumped into my like 10-minute rant about how slow the PlayStation download network or the download speeds on the PlayStation Network are. So it's crazy, and for them to want to rely on their network for stuff like this is just crazy.
Yeah, it's and it's one of the things that PlayStation has always fought with. I mean, their PS3, if you start your console, right, and you're like, man, I got a new game, I can't wait to play it. And then you start it up and it's like, oh, there is a vital system update that you need to perform. It's like, damn it. So you got to wait for that thing to download.
Yeah.
And then it's got to install. And you're like, great, I can play my game now. It's like, no, you have to install that game. And it's, oh my God. So about 45 minutes to an hour later, if you're lucky, you might be playing the game you just spent $60 for. It is a very slow process, and I
Wow.
think Sony needs to fix it.
See, that's why I don't mind buying PlayStation Plus, because it boots up my PlayStation at 4 in the morning, installs any patches or downloads any patches, installs any updates, and so I haven't had to update my PlayStation at all, because it just does it in the background. But yeah, I can remember back in the old days, every time I turned my PlayStation on, there was an update, and it was insane. It's so slow.
Yeah, it's way too slow, and having that addition if you're a PlayStation Plus user is really really nice. But it is a real pain, and I hope that in the next iteration of the Sony console that they address that and they make a change, because even if you're on a wired connection, it's still quite slow. I think even just letting us have the option of installing the game on the hard drive is fine. I mean, if I want to install it on my Xbox, I can make that choice. They don't force me to do it. Maybe that has something to do with the fact that when Xbox started out, they had a ton of consoles that had measly hard drives in them, right? I mean, when the PS3 came out, it had the biggest hard drive you've ever seen in a game console. So
Right.
that might have had something to do with it.
It's also the speed of the Blu-ray. That's the reason why game devs started doing the game installs, because the Blu-ray is just so slow to access different parts of the disc when you're doing sequential reads. That is basically why they had to start doing the installs. But yeah, I wish it wasn't so necessary in a lot of games. Pretty much any game now, you're installing a couple gigs to your hard drive.
Yeah. It just might be that thing where, that's if we want games that look this good and feel this real all the time, that's what we're going to have to deal with. And that's okay, but I wish that there was some infrastructure or some sort of software thing in place that made it a bit of a less painless process, because at this point, playing a new game on my PlayStation is a little bit more work than it's worth.
Right.
Yeah, but other than that, fantastic game, totally worth the $30. If you're a baseball fan, you will be remiss to not play this game, because it's a ton of fun, and it really does feel like you are watching a broadcast game. The presentation is so spot on. It's really great.
Nice.
And then the last review today is something that, oh boy, we've talked about this a lot on not only the bonus stage on Kick, but also here on These Dudes on Games. Did I say that right?
You
this time?
did. Finally.
Oh, and we don't do the show anymore.
About time.
But yeah, exactly. We talked about that Mass Effect 3 ending controversy. Now, if you're not in the live chat, you can't see me doing air quotes around controversy, because I think that the word controversy makes it sound like it's something just very sinister, and it's not. It is a bunch of whiny babies that are crying because they think that the Mass Effect 3 ending is bad, which I never agreed with. I thought the Mass Effect 3 ending was fine. I thought there were some plot holes, but when you make a story that big, it's really tough to write anything that covers everything. I thought it had just enough mystery to keep me engaged and be like, okay, you know what? I can figure out by myself what happened. That's part of the fun of that ending for me. So what they did was they released something called the extended ending. They didn't rewrite the ending, but they filled in some of the blanks, and that launched a couple of weeks ago. Actually, the same day as Dawnguard came out. Free download, 1.92 gigabytes. Huge download. I mean, just under the 2 gigabyte limit. And one of the things we said on Kick last week is, I can't believe that a few extra scenes that aren't, it's not even gameplay, it's just movies, is just under 2 gigabytes, and Dawnguard, which is this huge expansive piece, is like 500 megabytes. I really don't understand that. I mean, unless I don't understand how big FMV video cutscenes are on a video game, it just doesn't make any sense to me. But they released it. I played through the whole ending again. They say that you should start from the raid on the Cerberus facility.
Spoilers.
I guess that's a spoiler, but it's not really a spoiler if you played Mass Effect 2.
I'm being an internet troll, so don't mind me. Don't mind me.
I really don't think it's that big of a spoiler, but I guess it is partly. So sorry. Yeah, so what you have to do is you start there, and then I never saw any scene that I hadn't seen before until the actual last portion of the game, which I won't spoil if somebody hasn't played it, because it's pretty paramount to the entire game. But the thing that's weird about it is that I think it really answers too many questions. And I can only speak for myself here, but like I said, part of the fun of that other ending was that I kind of had to use my brain and, think a little bit about, oh, well, what happened? I kind of had to make up my own mind. It was that great water cooler talk the next day, right? But now they answer all these questions for you, and it's like, you were too dumb to figure it out yourself. So now we got to explain it in out and out in your face English. And I just think it was too much. I was actually really disappointed. However, they did add something that wasn't in the game before, and it's an optional fourth ending, which I stumbled upon by accident and didn't want that ending and had to go back and do the entire thing again. And I was so mad because I had accidentally did it. And I was like, you gotta be kidding me. Is this the ending? And I was yelling as the credits were rolling down my TV because I'm like, I just put 3 hours into this game again, and now I gotta go back and play another 45 minutes of stuff I just heard, and you can't skip cutscenes.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that was unfortunate, but I do think it's pretty interesting. They do touch on some stuff that I didn't think about, and there are some pretty interesting concepts that go on there. But I just think that I really don't think it needed to be changed. It's like I heard an analogy put forth by I believe it was, I can't even remember, but basically they were saying it's like going to an art gallery and looking at every painting, and then the last one you see, you're like, I don't like that one. Can you change it for me? That's what that's like. It's like, how dare you ask me to change something like that? Yeah, you spent $60, but do you really think that that last minute makes that $60 a waste? Did you get $59.50 worth of value out of this game? It's out of control.
Yeah,
I think everybody.
it's crazy. That's just the way that society is now on the internet. I mean, people they expect everything. They have a really like crazy sense of entitlement about everything, and they basically spam forums. And I could see like why this happened. I just don't like that it did happen.
Yeah, I don't like that the gaming community that I call myself a part of denigrated to such a degree that we were, begging people to change an ending of a game that I personally didn't have a problem with. But if you did have a problem with it, I don't think it's that any ending could be that bad that it ruins the next experience for you.
Right.
That doesn't make any sense to me. I think that's completely overblown.
On the internet, that's crazy talk.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. The internet has this way of maybe blowing things out of proportion.
Yeah, exactly. Cool.
I don't know if you've ever been on the internet, but that's what they do.
I've heard of it. I maybe I'll go check this mythical place out.
Yeah.
One thing that's pretty cool, as you were talking, I got some news updates, and the soundtrack for the Mass Effect 3 ending is available as a free download now. So you can get the soundtrack for free right now. I'll put a link in the show notes. So if you want to download that for free, just go to vgpodcast.com, go to bonus stage episode 1 show notes, and follow the link, and you'll be able to download it.
Yeah, and actually, if you have the Mass Effect 3 soundtrack already, this is actually a new entry that adds 16 minutes of music that you haven't heard before because they had to do some new music for the new scenes. So there is, I believe it's 3 new tracks or something like that, but it's 16 minutes in total of new music. And I listened to it today, and it's really nice. I mean, all the Mass Effect music is really, really great. The first 2 albums were done by Jack Wall, if you don't know, is the composer of Video Games Live.
Yep.
He didn't do the 3rd album, though, I'm pretty sure. And I can't remember who did it. But we're going to hear some of the music in this next break, and it's my favorite song from the whole thing. It's that Leaving Earth track. I just absolutely love this whole track. And it's a really good album, and it's free. Why not download it?
Cool. All right, well, let's get into that one. This one's Leaving Earth. It's about 2 minutes. We'll catch you guys on the flip side. Awesome. So that was Leaving Earth from Mass Effect. Great track. So yeah, let's get into the rest of the show. We'll get into news right now.
Yeah, and there is quite a bit of stuff going on right now. And the the really interesting thing that happened a few weeks ago was that there's a new 3DS model, and
Yes.
I know that you're pretty fired up about this. Maybe not for the right reasons, though.
Yeah, I actually talked about this on Nintendo Pulse, which is another show that I do with Edgar, and we talked about it for, I don't know, half hour, and we argued back and forth. It was a really great episode, actually. And basically, Nintendo did these things called Nintendo Direct, which is where they basically prepare a video and show it to you directly, which is actually really cool, and I love that they do it. They did one on the Sunday before E3. Their E3 presentation was on the Tuesday, and then they did another one like a week after E3 ended, which was kind of odd because they didn't really announce anything like breathtaking or amazing at E3, and then they saved this one for after E3, which is like, well, you could have made a big splash at E3. I don't know. Someone needs, like, I need to go help Nintendo market. Like, hire me, Nintendo. I will fix your company. But anyway, they announced that the 3DS XL is going to be coming out, which is, if you're not familiar with the DSi XL, it was the DSi that was bigger. It had like 75% or 70% bigger screens or something like that. So the 3DS XL is coming out on August 19th, which is the same day that new Super Mario Brothers 2 comes out, and it's going to be $199. The actual screens on the 3DS XL are 90% bigger than the other ones, and there's a great image online that basically lines up the top screen of the 3DS XL and the screen of the Vita, and they're almost identical. Like it's a really large screen, which is great because I'd like to play on a bigger screen when I'm playing a game like that. The one thing that I think Nintendo really dropped the ball on is that they're redesigning the 3DS, but they're not putting a second Circle Pad on it. They came out with this Circle Pad Pro accessory, which is just insane. It adds this big bulky thing to your system. It takes a AAA battery, it doesn't even feed from the system, and it actually passes information from the peripheral to the handheld via the IR port. So it's like, this makes absolutely no sense why this thing exists. So Nintendo had the option to fix it and put a second Circle Pad on the 3DS, but they didn't. So that makes me think that the Circle Pad Pro is pretty much a dead product, and there's going to be no one supporting it in the future.
Well, what I got to think is that for them to change the actual, and the thing is, it's weird because they did have to change the actual molds for the 3DS because they had to make it bigger, right?
Yeah, it's a full redesign. It doesn't even look like the old 3DS. It looks rounded, cornered, and sleek. Like, it looks awesome.
Look sleeker, yeah.
Just oh.
My original thought was that maybe what they were thinking is that if a Circle Pad Pro is a hunk of plastic with a PCB, it probably cost them less than $1 to make, and they're selling it for 20. That's what I'm going to assume. And it would probably cost them maybe $2 extra for every 3DS XL to have an extra Circle Pad. Maybe that was just too much of a jump for them to make, and maybe they wanted the 3DS version 2.0 because the XL doesn't actually add any processing power or anything like that. It is the same internal components. It's just a larger device.
Yeah.
Maybe they just wanted to say, like, let's wait for the really the next iteration of the 3DS to say, okay, dual Circle Pads built in, and you don't have to buy that accessory. Plus, maybe they just made so many of them, they're like, man, we can't just like throw it out. Although you also can't use Circle Pad Pro with the 3DS XL.
Yeah.
Because it's just too big, doesn't fit.
Exactly. I don't think it's anything like that. I think Nintendo already burnt their early adopters, and this is the only argument that people have brought up, which kind of makes sense. They burnt the 3DS early adopters by dropping the price by $80 like 3-4 months after the system came out, and saying, oh, we're sorry, here, you can join this ambassador program, you get 20 free games, we love you, thanks for supporting Nintendo, but now we're selling the 3DS for a lot less.
Yeah.
So if they came out with the 3DS XL and it had 2 analog sticks, that means that new games coming out would have to have multiple control schemes, or they would have to just say requires a Circle Pad Pro, either the attachment or the second analog stick. So that's kind of the argument people are saying, and I get that. but I also have to kind of say, suck it up, and who cares? Like,
Yeah.
you have to move the system forward. And I've played, like, I bought Resident Evil and I bought the Circle Pad Pro. Resident Evil without the Circle Pad Pro is horrible. It is so terrible. You
You know,
play.
I don't think it's that bad if you've had a ton of experience with Resident Evil, like 1 and 2 and 3 for that matter,
No,
on those other
no,
platforms.
it's terrible because you're using the touch screen, and I mean, it's playable. I'm not gonna say it's unplayable, but
Yeah,
it's not good. And maybe you don't even know it's bad until you try it with the Circle Pad Pro, and it's like, holy crap! I can run and gun.
that's probably the case.
I can sidestep. I can do all this great things with this extra controller. And I don't know. I think if Nintendo wants to compete with Vita, because there were some announcements this week where Borderlands 2 is coming out on the Vita. There's a couple other big, like, AAA holy crap games that are coming out on the Vita. If Nintendo wants to compete, like, this was the first, like, shot over the bow for Sony, saying, okay, you did 2 analog sticks. We see that it worked really well for you. Here, we're doing 2 analog sticks. Unfortunately, Nintendo didn't do that. So I think this is really going to be a huge issue. And what I think is really going to happen is they're going to have another redesign in a year that will add it on. But I think by then it's going to be too late. Developers aren't going to want to spend the time supporting it while they have 2 years of people that have systems that don't have 2 circle pads.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. I think this is a huge misstep for Nintendo, which can really bite them in the butt. But who knows?
Here's a question though. Like, is the DS touchscreen capacitive, or do you have to use the stylus? Can you use your finger?
It's not capacitive. It's pressure based, so you can
Okay.
use your finger, but it only accepts one touch at a time.
Gotcha.
Like, I remember when the DS Fat first came out, the first DS, it came with this little wrist strap.
Yeah, the little slide thing on your thumb.
Yeah, and it had this little piece of plastic that you put on your thumb, and it worked really good for games like Mario Kart and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not super accurate. Like Kid Icarus, you basically have to control it with a stylus, and Kid Icarus is an awesome game. I've played like hours and hours and hours of that game, love it to death, but it would just be so much better if you could use the circle pad. It actually supports the circle pad, but only in left-handed mode, where you use the stylus on the screen with your left hand, and it just moves the controls from one side to the other. Like, all games nowadays need dual analog. Like, I don't want to go back and play my Super Nintendo, or my N64 rather, and play like first-person shooters that way. I loved it at the time, but we've come so far in controlling games.
Well, you look at Sony, it took them more than half a decade to figure out, hey, maybe we should put 2 analog sticks on this PS Vita thing.
Yeah.
I mean, and I could probably be in a meeting when they were just figuring out that the Go was a hunk of crap, and they're like, well, when we do the new one, what should we have on it? And
I don't
some
know.
guy probably was like, hey, maybe 2 analog sticks. Idiots. It's
They-
what every game blogger's been talking about for years.
They knew it was a hunk of crap before they released it.
They
I don't
did.
even know what they were doing there. That was when Sony was crazy. Like,
I mean, yesterday and today, like, they
they've-
were always crazy.
well, they've gotten a little bit less crazy. I mean, when Ken Kutaragi left the company, they became 1,000% less crazy. They still have a lot of crazy, but
Oh, yeah.
not crazy Ken Kutaragi crazy, because
Yeah,
that dude was insane.
you're gonna want to work 2 jobs just to afford this console.
You'll be happy to work 2 jobs to have the privilege to buy our next console.
You're gonna work 2 jobs. How the hell are you gonna have any time to play the friggin' console?
Yeah, and you're gonna buy 2 of these consoles so you can hook them up to 4 HD televisions to play a racing game, because you want the best.
No.
Yeah, he was crazy.
Which also never really panned out and was never
No.
possible. And
It
still
didn't,
isn't
didn't
to
work
this
at all.
day.
No, it was insane. So yeah, 3DS XL. I'm actually, I want one, because I want to. I don't ever play my portable games when I'm out, which is like really bizarre. Like, for the longest time, even when I had like a Game Boy and like Game Boy Color, I played most of my games at home. I didn't really play outside
Me too.
or at friends' houses. It was just another way for me to play without sitting in front of a television. And having a bigger screen is definitely a good thing. Like, I prefer playing games on my iPad to my iPhone because the screen is bigger. I'm probably going to be getting a 3DS XL when it comes out. Although I don't really want to spend another $200 on a Nintendo console, but I think I might
Man,
be forced to do it.
I would wait and see what the next 3DS holds, because I think you'd be throwing your money away just for a bigger screen. It's really, it's not any better. I mean, it's just a bigger screen. It seems like a cash grab. I know what they're trying to do, and I guess I can kind of respect that. But you hold it closer to your face, or it seems very strange. And how much money can you get for a trade-in for a 3DS now. I mean, not much if the price of the 3DS is under $200. It's close to 150 now,
Yeah.
and the XL is only $30 more. I mean, your trade-in value is going to be under $100 probably. So
Yeah. Yeah, you have all the local game companies here in town. They'll give you a really good trade in for the console.
yeah,
Like you'll probably get $150 or $130 for it,
oh, that's pretty good
which
then.
isn't bad. But you won't want to do that because if you've bought any content, it won't transfer over unless you have your
Yeah,
system
yeah.
there. So if you are an ambassador and you have your 20 games, you won't be able to take them to your new console
See,
unless you.
that's awful.
Yeah.
That
So
they should fix that because you really want the ambassadors to stick around. If you want them to
yeah.
buy the next iteration, let them transfer that stuff over with the SD card. Why is there a slot there if I can't?
Yeah, exactly. And they will be fixing it with when the Wii U comes out. There's going to be a unified Nintendo Network login that will be shared across your 3DS and the Wii U. So it is coming. It's just not here yet, which is a little bit unfortunate.
I wouldn't jump the gun on an XL just because you're going to lose that content.
Yeah, no, I would buy one and I'd like give my 3DS to my son or something.
Oh, okay, you'd still
they,
keep it in the family.
They both have my old Game Boy, my old DS Lights. So my son has the white one, and I bought a pink one for Valentine's Day for my wife, which was just like a stupid thing. I don't know why I did that. But my daughter actually uses it now, which is pretty cool.
Nice.
So I'll probably just give my son my 3DS and then get the XL when it comes out, and at least sell it to myself that way.
Cool. We've also got more Nintendo news that kind of falls in line with the 3DS as well, too.
More crazy Nintendo news.
Yeah.
Nintendo, the biggest detractor for freemium titles, in-app purchases, microtransactions, and the iOS platform as a whole, who said that they would never release a game where you had to buy more content down the road. They want to sell complete packages only. Has just announced, or they did at just after E3, that they are going to be selling DLC for the next New Super Mario Brothers game. So, New Super Mario Brothers 2, when it hits in August, will immediately have day and date with the game comes out, downloadable content. You'll be able to buy other levels, and you'll be able to use them in your game. The one thing that Reggie Fils-Aimé said is that don't worry, we're not actually taking programmers away from producing the game. This is they're only going to make this content when they're done making the game.
Just like when last week we said the same thing. We're like, listen, when you say that, it makes me really suspicious of you.
Yeah.
That's kind of like just an unspoken thing. Okay, they're just working on DLC afterwards, but don't say that to me. Now I think that you're lying and trying to cover it up.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, what? Why would you say that? You're being guilty.
It's so ridiculous. And now I'm so suspicious of them. It's like, okay, what else are they doing? What else are they hiding from me?
Yeah. So not only is Nintendo going back on what they've said for the longest time they would never do, and they were so down on other companies for doing it, they're making you think that they're going about it a very dirty and sneaky way. So
Yeah, and they're probably not. I mean, he's probably
Yeah.
being very honest. He's a pretty honest guy for the most part. I've never not trusted him.
Yeah.
But he's also a 9 foot tall giant, so I figure if I called him a liar, he'd just pick me up by my head and toss me around.
You'll like him until he kicks your ass and takes your name while doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's
which
what he's known for,
he's-
apparently.
He's a giant. The man is huge.
he's a big-
he
big
comes
guy.
out of the stage and like, even if you're in the front row, it's like, man, what is that? I gotta climb a ladder to get to this guy. It's out of control.
Yeah, no, he's a good guy. I like him. I don't know if he's the right fit for Nintendo now. Nintendo's trying to change to be more social and open, and he's
Yeah.
still very like Japanese Nintendo, the way like Nintendo
He
Japan
is,
runs
yeah.
the company. So
I
I guess
totally
that's why he was a good fit for Nintendo. But like the Nintendo Directs are put out on YouTube. Nintendo's Wii U is going to have the Miiverse social network, which you'll be able to access from a web browser. They're doing some very un-Nintendo things now.
Yeah, like acknowledging that the internet exists.
Yeah, exactly. And using it. They're not making their own service for these videos. They're actually using YouTube, which is like, it blew my mind. It's like, holy crap. They're actually using the same stuff that we use. They don't think it's like...
Yeah, they're doing live streams and stuff. It's out of control.
And they're not just worried that every new technology is just a way for people to prey on children. Like that was their biggest thing for friend codes, is we don't want people to be able to figure out who they're talking to in this game. So we're going to have very cumbersome like 12-digit codes on each side, so you can only talk to the people that you actually know in real life.
Yeah.
They're getting a little bit more open, which is a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I do understand where that mentality comes from, that
Yep.
Nintendo is a very kid friendly kind of thing and they don't want to have anything like that happen. But you know what? I really don't think any crazy child molesting kidnappers are going to try and pick kids up using a PictoChat.
Yeah.
There's other things that you should be worried about if you're trying to protect your kids. But I guess I should have to say, good for them for at least thinking about it, because I don't think very many other game companies are.
Hmm.
But it just seems like a little bit overdone, very bubble wrapped type of thing.
Yeah, totally. It's very very much what is happening all over now, where they're overprotecting things, which is just they've swung too far the other way, which
Yeah.
is not a good thing.
I think
All
so.
right, moving on. Activision had some big news this week. Jeff, why don't you tell
Yeah,
us a little bit about it?
so I was checking the game blogs as I usually do when I'm not working. God, I hope my boss isn't watching this. Don't worry, it's not very often. But there was an article that I always gravitate to Activision articles, because I always think, oh, okay, the company's done now. Because I just always think that the next thing they do is really, really crazy. And this probably is crazy, but we'll see how it happens. They're making a Walking Dead first-person shooter,
What?
which is pretty crazy. But yeah, they are making a Walking Dead first-person shooter. Should be out sometime 2013. I hope that they just reskin the Call of Duty engine, because I think that would be so out of control. But apparently they are working with crap, let me pull up the article here because I can't actually remember the company's name, but they're working with a new company they're partnered with, and the company is Terminal Reality. They're the developers, and they're going to be working on a Walking Dead first-person shooter. It's going to focus on a controversial white supremacist brothers, Daryl and Merle Dixon,
Yeah.
from the show. Now, these guys weren't in the comic book, but they are playing more into the show thing here, into the show theme. And they're going to be trying to survive zombie-infested wasteland of Atlanta. Gameplay will be a mix of stealth, where you'll need to avoid the undead enemy's sense of smell, sight, and hearing. And then, of course, there will be a mix of shooting along with the kind of medical supply hoarding, resource management. You'll also meet other human characters you can join on your quest to survive, and choices to have others join your party will probably affect the narrative. I don't know what they mean by probably affect. It either will or it won't.
Yeah.
That's a little ambiguous. But yeah, it ties into the continuity of the television series and marks the second major spin-off of Kirkman's long-running series for Image Comics. I'm a huge Walking Dead fan. I don't want to sound like some sort of hipster guy, but I've been a Walking Dead fan for years. I have all of the trade paperbacks on my shelf. I think it's a fantastic series. Greg's asking in the chat room, ETA on the release date is 2013, no month set. I'm going to assume probably around summer at the earliest.
Yeah.
But, we might see, depending on how popular The Walking Dead gets this season, they could push that thing to a Christmas launch and make a ton of money on it. But Activision putting together a Walking Dead game, pretty interesting stuff, because they are known for driving franchises into the ground. So we'll see what happens. I'm excited. I think this could be a really cool game. Activision does know how to produce games and give them money, so I hope that they give them enough money to make a competent game.
Right.
But we'll see, because a lot of tie-in games or spin-off games of like shows or movies usually suck. Telltale has put a fantastic amount of work into their Walking Dead series. I think that right now that it's one of the best video game translations of another medium that's ever been done.
Exactly.
We'll see how Activision and this other company fare, but it was pretty interesting news. So
Yeah, it's the one thing I'm scared about is Activision is very like microtransactions. Let's find other ways to monetize our IP. So I can just imagine you're walking around The Walking Dead, you're out of bullets, and you go into a store and you have to microtransaction real money to buy your ammunition or something like that. I can imagine them doing like crazy things like that, because The Walking Dead is such a huge IP now. Like the TV show is just going crazy. Everybody loves it. DVD box pre-orders are way up there. All that stuff. I could see them trying to really take advantage of that, and I hope they don't screw it up, because I really like the world. I love the comic version of the world, but I also like the television version of it, because it's so different than the comics in a lot of different ways. So
yeah, and a lot of people's gripe about the show is that it's not following the comics, and my answer to that would be, why do you want the same thing? You already know that story.
Exactly.
You have to give the writers of the television show and of the game. A lot of people's criticism of the Walking Dead Telltale game is like, well, this isn't the show or this isn't the comic book.
Yeah.
Why do you want to do that? I mean, you already know that story. There's no surprises or interest. I mean, you've
Yeah.
already seen it. Just have this new story. Give the writers license to do something different in that universe. I mean, you can have things that tie in. You see characters in the Telltale game that, there's oh crap, I'm blanking on his name. The Asian kid in the show. His name is
Oh yeah, I can't think of his name right now.
yeah, but anyway, he makes an appearance in the game as well.
It's
You see
bugging me now.
Herschel in the game, Glenn in the chat room. Thank you
Right
very much.
there, you go.
You see appearances of them. They drop in. It doesn't have to be canon to whatever the canon is. I would assume that the comic books are canon,
Yeah.
but they can just be like maybe this happened before they met in the comic books or in this TV series. Give those writers license to do something that isn't okay. We're just rewriting this so people can play it. That's
Totally.
boring.
I mean, it's like Spider-Man now. I mean, there's been so many versions of what Spider-Man's reality is. You don't know what the movies are going to be all about because
Yeah.
they're so different, and you don't know what the comics are going to be about because they reboot it every few years. So
Yep.
let them do it with this because it's a very, very good world, and I can't wait to see other things exist in this environment. It's going to be a lot of fun. Just don't screw it up, Activision.
Yeah, exactly. Activision, if you're listening, because I know you are, don't screw it up. That's all we have to say.
They're in the live chat room right now.
Yeah. Oh, the Activision right there.
Yeah, right there. That's
Yeah.
all Activision.
Yeah, exactly.
All of them on one
All
computer.
of them are
they're all
Activision.
they're all behind one computer watching
Yeah.
us do the
They're
show.
like, let's see what these guys are saying about us today.
All right, let's move on to our last news item of the day. This one's pretty interesting. So, you guys probably know PlayStation 3 launched with the ability to have your PlayStation 2 games backwards compatible, so you can just pop them right in your PlayStation 3 and play them. That was really great. And they also had PlayStation 1 titles that were available for download, so you could download a lot of games right from scratch, basically, right when the system came out. And they've kept it up. There's a lot of really great PlayStation 1 games that are available to play on your system. Newer versions of the consoles dropped PlayStation 2 support. They said it was for security reasons or it was too expensive, yada, yada, yada. Well, Sony Japan just announced that the Vita is going to be able to play PlayStation 1 titles through an update that's going to be coming in the summer, which is great. People wanted to do that for a while. But the big thing is that on July 25th in Japan, they're unveiling the PlayStation 2 game catalog. So they're going to unveil a whole pile of games. You'll be able to get Biohazard Code Veronica, Siren, and Dragon Force, and they're going to be between 800 and 1200 yen. So when that comes over here, there'll probably be a handful of really good titles, and they'll be around $10 or so. Kind of interesting that they're doing it. I think it's a great
Seems
thing.
high, the price.
It does seem really high. I like that they're doing it, but it just makes me even more upset at them for pulling the backwards compatibility out of out of the consoles. I mean, my PlayStation 3 still is backwards compatible. I can pull my PlayStation 2 games off the shelf here and plug them in.
The only thing I can play is PlayStation 1, but we have a PlayStation 2 that I bought from PNP for my girlfriend for Christmas. So we have, we can play PS2 games. That's one of the things that's like, you know what? It's not as easy as people think to make a drive, especially if it's, Blu-ray, to say, okay, it's going to play everything. It seems like it's easy because it's like, oh, just the disc goes in there. Why can't it read it?
Well, it's pretty easy. I mean, they just have two lasers because the system
Yeah.
itself reads DVDs, which are backwards compatible with CDs and all that stuff. So they have the tech in the system already. They just didn't want to have the emotion engine, the PlayStation 2 chip inside of it. They wanted to get rid of that so that they could save a few dollars, which I don't understand. You're putting a cell chip, which is huge, into the thing. Like, put that other piece of silicone in the system and have backwards compatibility in it, which is a huge thing.
Exactly. And I agree because especially if you're launching a new console, it's like all you have to play are the games that we have launched with that console. That's a pretty thin library, and you could go back to the PS2 and 1 library are huge. I mean, huge. There's so many good games in there. I mean, only up until a few years ago, they were actually still making PS2 games. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Why can't we play those? To go out and buy a PlayStation 2 now for $60 or whatever it was at PNP isn't a big deal, but I wish I just didn't have to. You know,
Yeah, exactly.
it's strange that my PS3 can play PS1 games, but not PS2 games. It is a choice in some point, but there are instances where, you know, if you're going to release them on digital download, $10 is too much to pay.
Yep.
Give me it for $5 or $6 or whatever. It's like, does it have to be this, like, no, it's got to be $10. They'll pay that. I don't like that Sony always thinks that their stuff is worth so much money after 10 or 15 or 20 years. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
Exactly. And Flea in the chat room says that the Wii U better have NES cartridge backwards compatibility built into it.
So that would be awesome.
Get on that, Nintendo.
You know, I think the biggest thing is, you know, for Sony in my mind, on a lot of their actually every product they make, they have the same attachment to it that someone has a worthless family heirloom that they're trying to pawn. Their sentimental value of that item is way, way, way higher than the actual value of what it is. To me, Resident Evil is my favorite game series of all time. If they were like, Resident Evil 1 on the PS Vita is going to cost you $10, that's too much. I don't care about the game that much, and it's one of my favorite games of all time. $5? That sounds a bit more right. I mean, that game came out more than a decade ago, almost 2 decades. No, it'd be 2 decades ago that game came out. You're really gonna only drop the price down to $10? That's out of control.
Yeah,
you're making 100% profit on this thing.
Well,
$5.
They're expensive now. Like PlayStation 1 games, some of them are $6.99, which it boggles my mind. It's like, how can I could go to a garage sale and buy them for $1. I could go to a used game store and buy them for $4. I could go to a swap meet or a flea market and buy them like five for $20. Like it. Why would the digital version, which you're not shipping anything, you're sending bits over the internet, cost me more than doing all of that stuff? It just doesn't really make sense to me.
Yeah, and then the funny thing is they're like, okay, well, we'll give it to you for $5, but it's $5.99. Are you really kidding me? You can't round up to a nice even number so that I can have that, like, okay, it's $5 it's getting on my credit card, not $5.99. It just makes me so mad. So mad.
Cool. All right. Well, I think that's it for the show, Jeff.
Yep.
This is a good one. We did a long time. It's like, what is it? It's almost midnight. So we did about an hour and a half. Do you want to
field a couple of questions from the chat room before we go?
Yeah, let's do that. All the people who are still in the chat room, ask away. Well, let's.
Got Matt's question right here. He's asking, have we played Happy Wheels? And if so, tell me how you feel about it. If not, seriously consider Googling it and giving it a go. I have played it. Tom and I reviewed it on the bonus stage a long time ago. I think it's one of the funnest games I've ever played. It's a free web game, a lot of user-created levels. It's hilarious. It's really addicting too. It's just basically this side-scroller game where you're, you know, a bunch of different really ugly and stupid, goofy characters, and some of them are on like a Segway scooter or like an obese woman who's in a in like one of those powered wheelchairs that has a bunch of groceries in the front, and it's just an obstacle course kind of thing where you're just driving over stuff. It's a ton of fun. I think it's a fantastic game. If you haven't played it, go check it out.
I'm looking at it right now. I remember we talked about this when I co-hosted way back like a couple months ago or whatever, and I was like, yeah, I should check that out, and I never did. And now this is reminding me again. I'm gonna have to go check that out because it looks stupid, which is awesome. Awesome. Cool. Okay, so that one was one. Let's see if there's any other ones. What's wrong with the Blue Jays? I like that question.
Nothing's wrong with the Blue Jays except for the fact that they're the best 500 team in the league. And if they were in in the league, if they were in any other division, they would be contesting for the playoffs every year. But the fact that they're in the toughest division with the Devil Rays and the Orioles and the Boston Red Sox and the New York Yankees, they have to fight every game just to stay alive. And unfortunately, right up until now, once we get to the All-Star break, they're going to actually start playing their own division more, and those teams are really tough. So if they lose, it's more like they're dropping 2 games back instead of just 1. The Blue Jays don't suck. There's nothing wrong with them, but there's something wrong with them being in that division.
I think he was joking.
I know, but I'm going for it anyway. I will turn this into a sports podcast if we have to. I don't care.
Oh, I had a question from Greg Squires asked any input on the NHL draft. We can spend another hour talking about the NHL draft if you want.
I'm sure.
But we won't. This is a video game podcast. Maybe we'll talk about games. Anyway, I think that's enough for the first episode. We did a long time, and thanks to everybody that showed up.
We appreciate it.
We've had about 30 people pop in to the live video feed. A bunch of people in the chat room. This is great. I'm glad that we did the show, and I hope that a lot of you guys will start coming back every Friday night to come hang out with us for an hour or two, talk games, and I can't wait till we start doing like game nights and things like that. This is gonna be a lot of fun, man.
I'm really excited for how things are going. I think the show went really well. I'm really happy with the turnout that we got in the chat room. It was great chatting with these guys as we were doing the show. A ton of fun. And like we said at the top, if you guys have questions or concerns or things you want to see, let us know, and we'll make a good effort to put it on the show for you.
VGpodcast@gmail.com is that email address. Let us know what you want us to do, and we'll try to do it. Coming up next week, we're gonna have reviews of The Walking Dead episode 2, Magic 2013 of something that I've never heard of before, but Jeff is convincing me to check it out, and that's Freddie Wong's Video Game High School series. So I'll be checking that one out this week, and we will talk about it in the next episode of the bonus stage.
Yeah, if you guys have ever seen Freddie W on YouTube, he does all these little action shorts. They got a Kickstarter funded about a year ago for a series of shows called Video Game High School, the last episode of which just came out this week. It's a ton of fun to watch. Go watch it. They're all on YouTube, or if you just Google it, you'll be able to find it. It's a really good watch, and we'll talk about it next week because I think Lloyd will really enjoy it.
Yeah, for sure. I remember doing a live blog of my marathon watching of The Testers season 1, so I hope this is just as crazy, so I can live blog it and feel really bad about myself after.
I think you'll enjoy it just as much, maybe even more.
Cool. Awesome. All right. Well, guys, thanks for tuning in and joining us for episode 1 of the Bonus Stage podcast. Bonus Stage has been around for a while, but this is the podcast that will be coming to you each and every week here at the VG Podcast Network, vgpodcast.com/live. Check out the schedule at that website. You can email us, vgpodcast@gmail.com, or call our voicemail line, which is 505 VG Podcast. Let us know your thoughts, suggestions, and other things. VGpodcast@gmail.com. Thanks, Jeff, for joining me.
Thank you.
Thanks to everybody in the chat room, and we'll talk to you guys next week. Have a good one.
See ya.
I was going to say, there's supposed to be music here, but it wasn't starting. It was a delay.